They called him a murderer, a runaway, a nobody, but this man would go on to challenge a king, split a sea, and lead an entire nation to freedom. How did Moses, an unlikely hero, rise to fulfill a divine mission that would change the course of history forever? Moses wasn't born into greatness, he was born into danger. As an Israelite baby in Egypt, his life was doomed from the start. Pharaoh had ordered all Hebrew baby boys to be killed. But fate or divine intervention had other plans. Rescued from the Nile by Pharaoh's own daughter, Moses grew up in the heart of Egyptian royalty, unaware of the extraordinary mission that awaited him. What happened next is one of the greatest stories ever told, a tale of faith, courage, and miracles. The Israelites were enslaved, their lives crushed under Pharaoh's harsh rule. For 400 years, they cried out for freedom, but it seemed like no one was listening. Meanwhile, Moses, now an adult, lived a privileged life in Pharaoh's palace. That is, until one fateful day when he witnessed an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave. Overcome with rage, Moses struck the Egyptian, killing him on the spot. Moses fled into the wilderness, a fugitive with blood on his hands. He spent years in exile, building a new life as a shepherd. But one day, as he tended to his flock, something extraordinary happened. A bush burned with fire, but wasn't consumed. A voice called his name. It was God, and he had a mission for Moses: return to Egypt and set his people free. Moses was terrified. "Who am I to stand up to Pharaoh?" he asked. "I can't even speak well." But God assured him, "I will be with you." Armed with his shepherd's staff and a divine promise, Moses returned to the land he had fled. He confronted Pharaoh with a simple yet audacious demand: "Let my people go." Pharaoh laughed. Who was this shepherd to challenge the might of Egypt? And so began a showdown unlike any other. God, through Moses, unleashed 10 devastating plagues upon Egypt. The Nile turned to blood, frogs swarmed the land, darkness covered the nation, and finally, the death of Egypt's firstborn sons. With each plague, Pharaoh's heart hardened until the final blow. The Israelites, finally freed, left Egypt in a massive exodus. But their journey wasn't over. Pharaoh changed his mind and sent his army after them. Trapped between Pharaoh's chariots and the Red Sea, the Israelites panicked. Had they been freed only to die in the wilderness? This was the moment Moses' faith was truly tested. Standing at the edge of the Red Sea, he raised his staff. A powerful wind swept through, and the waters parted, creating a dry path for the Israelites to cross. The sea stood like walls on either side as they hurried through, escaping Pharaoh's army. As the Egyptians chased after them, the waters crashed back down, swallowing the soldiers and their chariots. The Israelites stood on the other side, free at last, their enemies defeated. But their journey to the Promised Land had only just begun. Moses' story is one of transformation. From a hesitant shepherd to a fearless leader, he showed what faith and obedience to God can accomplish. His journey reminds us that even the most ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they trust in a higher power. Moses didn't just lead the Israelites out of slavery, he gave them hope, a covenant with God, and a future. His legacy continues to inspire millions today. Don't miss the next story. Subscribe now.